Thanks. I want to go on the record, on the recording, is thanking Bonnie so much for graciously hosting. It's a lot to do.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
I would like to think. So mine is the third precept: do not misuse sexuality, remain faithful in relationships. And I just wanted to say first why I chose this precept is because I taught sexuality to people with developmental disabilities and physical disabilities in the 70s. And it was really interesting for me because I actually became much more conservative while I was teaching about sexuality, because especially with the students with developmental disabilities, because a lot of people felt that if you didn't say anything to people with developmental disabilities, they wouldn't know anything about it, and then they wouldn't do it, and it would be just great. Well, they did. They had sexual impulses, and they watched TV, and they did know something about it, but they didn't know very much. And they learned from social media, or not social media at that time, from TV and things that you get attracted to somebody and then you jump into bed with them. And so we taught a lot about appropriate and inappropriate behavior. And so I thought it would be interesting to talk about misusing sexuality in the Buddhist sense. And I was reading, it was originally a prohibition of sexual activity for monks, but lay Buddhists are not expected to be celibate. And it's not that way, it's not a prohibition against sexuality in general. And Anderson said that the precept of not misusing sexuality means not to harm. And harming derives from greed. And he said it was a rapacious desire for more than one needs. And I could really relate to that because I have addictive behavior. So of course you need more of anything. And so sexual greed arises when the self and other are seen as separate. So you want more sexuality, but it's not necessarily a oneness. And it says a peaceful mind is when there is a oneness of self and other. And the other part of the precept, remaining faithful in relationships, when a relationship is authentic, there is not a veneer of attachment, which is what Bodhidharma talked about. And so I looked up the definition of veneer, which is an attractive appearance that covers or disguises someone or something's true nature or feelings. So if you are one with your partner, you are not grasping, you are not wanting to own the other person, you are truly one. So that is not having a veneer of attachment. And Dogen says the three wheels are pure and clear. When there is nothing to desire, we follow the ways of all Buddhas. And I found the three wheels are the giver, the receiver, and the gift. So committed lovers and their act of love are intrinsically pure and clear. There's nothing to attain. So they are in the present moment, not grasping. So it's the honesty of being honest with their sexuality rather than grasping. And so it's living in, acting in the moment and acting out of love and not just having the sexual act. And this precept is not saying that sexuality is bad or good. Sexual energy is an integral part of life. It enables the continuation of the species and can be an important aspect of living a full life. It should not be engaged at the expense of intimacy. I'm violating this precept if I engage in sexuality in order to remove myself from the present moment. So if I'm not honest, and engaging in sex for ulterior motives or to gain favors or actions from someone else, then that is misusing sexuality. So we have to be clear in our intentions. Misusing sexuality relates to the ways we may separate ourselves from others. Greed for gratification of the urge, but also greed for feeling loved, needed, important, and powerful. So many people use sexuality because they're lonely and they feel a part of when they have sex, but they're not necessarily, being intimate with that person. They're just, so true intimacy is being open with ourselves and others, being honest about what we're doing sexually. Avoiding being absolutely present, being distant and disconnected is misusing sexuality. Am I honest? Am I putting myself above another person? Is sexual activity an escape from my life? Am I using sex, my sex life like a drug as escaping feelings? So I didn't talk 10 minutes. But I would like to open it up for discussion because to me, this was a difficult thing. I read a lot of things in the books, and the more I read, the more confused I got about, I feel like, I've kind of said the way I feel about misusing sexuality. And so I wanted to know how other people felt, is misusing sexuality. So people on Zoom or people in the rooms can.
I love your questions that you asked at the end. Those were great questions. Are you feeling above somebody? Are you being honest? It reminds me of when Nancy and I used to, every year we did a Awakening to Joy group. And somehow in one of those groups, I think we passed around slips of paper with some of the precepts on them to see what would happen. And this was mostly a group of kind of like very conservative older people, and somehow the precept on sexuality came up. I can't remember why or how, but do you remember? But it did. And I thought, well, that'll be interesting. I think it was small groups. And so this woman, kind of older woman said, well, we had some trouble with this, but she said, I thought about how sometimes if I want my husband to do something, I'll have sex with him so he'll do it. and I thought that was so sweet. She thought that was misusing sexuality.
I didn't catch the word you said. She'd have to what?
She said, well, she would have sex with him if she wanted him to like clean the garage or something, or do one of those husband things. Anyway.
Go ahead. I just remember you talking about this years ago.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh.
And but the part of it that I remember is you said, I think, or maybe I just heard it this way. And I can almost picture this woman that I've never met say this. Sometimes you just want to have a nice day.
That's what she said. This one had a nice day. Thank you. That's great. Is that misusing sexuality?
Well, that's a good question.
It is a
Because
question.
I'm talking about not using it to gain something.
Right.
And I want my husband to clean the garage.
Well, actually, I guess I projected that. She didn't apparently say that, but she said sometimes you just want to have a nice day.
So you use sexuality to have a nice day.
It's a good question.
It seems to me, if you're having a nice day and your partner's having a nice day, you're not misusing.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not, you're not misusing it in my book anyway.
Right, and when I think of, using it to acquire something, I mean, some people use it, not necessarily with their spouses, but, or with their significant others, but, maybe I'll get a favor, maybe I'll get to go to this concert or something like that if I have sex with this person. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because it can go a bunch of different ways. It kind of borders on what I've been reading for communication about. It could border on being dishonest, right? It's your intention. But if it's so people to have a nice day, or if it's like, okay, I want this favor, and in return, grant you the favor. I mean, that's open communication,
Right?
It's
That's so bad.
no.
And you talked about the giver, the receiver, and the gift.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just the gift. I may
Right.
not want it, but I may give it.
Right.
As a
Yes.
gift.
Right.
That's-
Yes.
I have a better day.
And then you have a better day. That's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do Zoom people feel like they can join in?
One thing that's coming up for me is sometimes, I mean, even for, a lot of my patients, sex is preservation. It's a safety. Sometimes if you've got somebody that is controlling or abusive in a family, if you have sex with your partner, that may get you through the night, at least till tomorrow, before the next bout of hostility, or, things will calm down and everybody will go to sleep. So I don't know why that has came up tonight in the discussion, because it hasn't before, but in getting something, it can be as simple as getting safety, getting a calm night, So when we talk about when is it okay to break a precept, that's what was coming up for me. It's like, if you are in a hostile relationship and having sex that night with your partner is going to keep you safe, you're going to get something out of that. You're going to get some safety out of that. And you're using that sex to get that safety. So I think in that situation, I'd probably have sex to keep myself safe for the night. So that's kind of what was coming up for me tonight.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. That's great. I mean, and it is interesting. It made me think of, when we're talking about not killing, and we were talking about, that there are times when, like we can all be vegan or not, or we can, kill, like I kill flies and mosquitoes, and I don't like to kill things, but they're biting me. Yeah. So that, so there are times when it seems like exceptions. Yeah, we do break the precepts.
Well, like a girl who sells her sexuality to feed her little brother or her family. It's hard to be judgy about that.
Right. I was thinking about that because you are using sex to get something.
And it might be breaking the precept.
Right. Because
I would like to toss out, if I may, I would like to toss out, one, we don't want to be judgy about anybody with the precepts. We're just using precepts for our own practice. But also think of the way our culture relates to sexuality. We have the phrase in advertising that sex sells. Think of all the ways that products are advertised to help us look sexier, be more attractive, draw the eye of someone. These are also ways in which we culturally are attuned to making use of sexuality, not necessarily engaging in the sex act, but playing up our attractive parts to try to draw the eye, to get attention, to get support, love, whatever else that is we think we need. These are also ways that can come into relationship with this precept, especially along those lines of creating a veneer of attachment. We can create a veneer of attachment with someone else who we're attracted to. All of a sudden, they have the most attractive qualities we've ever seen in anyone, that special someone. And there are also ways in which we try to make ourselves look more attractive as well. So I just wanted to put that little aspect into the a part of the discussion here.
That's good. No, thank you. But and also, so I was thinking about sexual comments. The Me Too movement, and and how saying sexy stuff to people is bad. And I remember when I was working at the med school, and I was director of a sex education project. And so my door said sex education. And so the doctors would stop by and tell me sexy jokes. Which weren't that appealing to me, but, were they misusing sexuality? They were trying to be friendly. They were not trying to proposition me.
Yeah.
They were just,
with you.
yeah,
like,
because I
thought
had
you
sex
understood.
education on my door. So.
Yeah, so you must know a lot about it.
And I would think it would be great to hear a sexy joke. So
Yeah,
That's such a kind way to frame that.
yeah.
I love that, Penny.
But
That's such a gracious way, a generous way to frame that, and true.
But I also can see that now, if they did that, it might be taken as horrible.
But it might be their intention.
Right.
Also, I just saw the whole Clarence Thomas, what's her name? Woman, right?
Anita Hill.
Anita Hill.
That's right.
Just saw that replayed recently, and that wasn't funny.
No,
That was abuse. That was sexual abuse.
people need to have learned that.
Yeah.
And yet what you're saying, it sounds like the doctors that stop by were not trying to sexually abuse you in any way.
No, at least I didn't get that feeling at all.
They're trying to connect with you probably. In
Right.
cases.
They were just stopping by to say hello and to tell a joke.
What about the part in the commentary that says remain faithful in relationships? Because I've always wished it said remain authentic instead of faithful, because I think of faithful as a one-to-one.
Right. And I think I maybe I didn't write it. I was thinking about being authentic too.
You did say that.
Okay. I feel like it's being authentic. Because I can example one of my friends who didn't date that much. She was my roommate in Boston, and she ended up getting involved with her boss, which, sounds terrible, but they ended up getting married and being married for years. I went and visited her 45 years after I left Boston, and he had just passed away, but they, so was she misusing sexuality, being with her boss, or what?
Was he being, you're saying, was she being inappropriate in some way? What about him? With a student or with a whatever?
With an employee, yeah. And I think he was married, but his wife was very sick. And that was so.
You have 1 minute. That was a conversation.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Thank you.
But yeah, so we can, but that is something to think about, when you talked about remain faithful in relationship. She wasn't in a previous relationship, and he was, but, and she still feels bad about it, but I did want to kind of wrap this up with talking about, when I was reading the books and looking at this precept, it covers so many precepts. It covers honesty. It covers stealing, because, you can be stealing something from someone by misusing sexuality. It covers addiction because you can be a sex addict, so I find that it's interesting how the precepts all kind of weave together, and so that's kind of the way how I wanted to end it. But
Thank you, Pam.
thank you.
Thank you.
So on to another one. My note. So yeah, my precept is that I want to introduce and that we get to discuss is do not speak dishonestly, communicate truthfully. And I wanted to start by saying, I didn't really want this precept. I wanted another one, but I kind of dinked around and hummed and hawed. And by the time I decided, I said last year I was going to do this, so I'm going to do it. I chose communicate, and I'm thinking, this won't be that bad. It was really hard. It's really complex. Like Mona likes to say, I went down a lot of rabbit holes, but my exploring in the rabbit holes proved to be really productive. I learned a lot, and I really learned a lot. So what I want to do is kind of go through some of the things in the precept guides, and then talk about communication and mindful communication, give maybe a story or so, and then a few quotes, and then open it up for us to talk about stuff. But I'm really sorry, my throat is super dry, so I gotta get some more tea or something. I'm really apologizing. So thank you. Thanks. So what we have in our precepts guide is do not speak dishonestly, communicate truthfully. In the realm of the inexplicable Dharma, putting forth not one word is the precept of not speaking dishonestly. The Dharma wheel turns from the beginning. There is neither surplus nor lack. The sweet dew covers the earth, and within it lies the truth. Thank you. What I got from the Dharma Rain Zen Center Precept Study Guide, which is a great little guide. I'm glad I could find my copy. In the realm of the inexplicable Dharma refers to the place where nothing can be said. This is like no thought samhita, a state of intense concentration achieved through meditation. That's Dogen's translation. And inexplicable Dharma means Dharma beyond words. The wheel of the Dharma rolls constantly and lacks for nothing, yet needs something. This suggests that although nothing is lacking, we still need to say something. Silence is perfect just as it is. That's Roshi Kennett's translation. Dharma as the sweet dew or truth covers everything. Nothing is excluded. I found a couple other versions I like. Manifest truth, do not lie. Manifest means demonstrate. And I kind of like that because demonstrating is kind of like that word and fits. Manifest, demonstrate truth. And speak with care, do not lie. Something I got from The Idiot's Guide to Zen Living, which is a really great book, perfect for me. There are all kinds of reasons people lie, and some are more harmful than others. This precept is about self-serving lies, half-truths, or omissions. And I think we can talk about that later because I'm not sure that's what it's about, but I think it's interesting point of view concept. When you look carefully, however, even small lies are about trying to avoid having to do something generous or to be held accountable. In short, they are self-serving and endanger the trust in your relationships. The most subtle form of lying is hiding from the world. This happens when you're afraid of what might happen if you didn't keep up the charade. You would get rejected, or maybe you would be censured or lose respect or ostracized or something. And then as we talked with Penny's precept, it's like, what about compassionate lies? Is there a place for that? Like if somebody you love is dying or somebody you're caring for is dying, is it okay to not tell them the whole truth? The question. So communication, It's a very interesting topic. We need a lot more discussion on this. Communication, it's the transmission of information either intentionally or unintentionally. There's a sender and a receiver. It's often situational, like having coffee with a friend might have a whole different sort of conversation tone, sort of anxiety level versus conversation when you're addressing conflict with a coworker or a partner. You're really different approaches. And communication is way beyond written or spoken words. There's all sorts of different things. I mean, just a few of them. There's sign language for people who can't talk. There's gestures like pointing if you have a mouth full of food. There's singing, there's art, there's music, there's dance, sports, and actions that can be out of anger or out of love or other purpose. And there's laughter. Factors like body language, tone of voice, facial expression, kinds of energy conveyed influence the messages that the communication conveys. Although I think like you can't just take them in and of themselves, because sometimes people are silent or have a body language like this and they don't mean anything by it. That's just how they're comfortable. And it can be interpreted that they're like not engaged or closed up. And so you have to be really careful with making assumptions. Communication is between humans, also with and among animals, which is one of my favorite topics. And I know a lot of you are animal lovers, but I still have 2 Alaskan Huskies left, and I had a bunch of them, and I used to ski jor with them and mush with them, and I became very interested in Iditarod and all those sports, and with my own experience with my own dogs are amazing. I mean, they have so much communication. They're so in tune with, like my one dog that I was really bonded to, he knew my moods. He would like, I came home in a funk, he'd make me laugh, he'd hop around, he'd howl. And he's just really attuned to where I was and what I was thinking, and just really bonded. So animals of all kinds, insects, plants, the earth, water, air, and maybe pretty importantly, with ourselves. It's connection. Communication is everything. Another little story. So I saw him today, but walking through the gate from our main house to what we now call our other house, there's this little hummingbird that always sat up there for years on this branch that was basically a blackberry. And she would chirp whenever I would go by. And I was like, okay, and then I started saying hi to him. Hi, I don't know what you want, what you're saying, but hi, I see ya. I'm not going to take your food. And then I noticed that the same bird for several years, and he was a big Anna. And then today I noticed that the Anna that was sitting there was a little one. So it must be a different one with the same habit. I don't know, but it was cool. So truthful communication. I think it requires awareness and mindfulness, which I think are different. It has to be ethical, sincere, and conveyed with integrity, conveyed with compassion, grace, care, love, kindness, metta, loving kindness. Some thoughts I had, or to help be in a situation where you have truthful, mindful communication, seek to understand, release judgment, be present, don't make assumptions, recognize that not everybody's truth is the same, and give the benefit of the doubt. Refrain from harsh speech, gossiping, and from dishonesty, including being dishonest with ourselves. And think about how you communicate, but also how do you receive communication? So I think that like how you receive it, do you accept it? Or it probably depends how it's delivered and by who, or you deny it, or how do you take communication? Intention, like Penny's talking, intention's huge in communication. What's your intention? One thing that I really like is think it's a great form of communication is smiling. It's one of the most connecting forms of communication that I know. And I have a quote that I love. Smiles are free, so share them. I have a little story about smiling. I used to smile a lot, and a lot of my coworkers and people would say that they liked my smile, you know, and it made them smile, it made them happy. And that it would brighten up their day. And then I didn't even realize it, but for a while I got in this funk and I quit smiling. I had had mouth surgery and I didn't like the way my smile was anymore. So I kind of quit smiling. And then I kind of recognized that at one point. And so I started consciously smiling again, and it makes me happy to smile, actually feel physical changes. And then I've also noticed that, why is nobody smiling at me? Well, you're not smiling at them. Somehow people are smiling at me again. So smiling is a great form of communication. Here's a few more quotes. The biggest communication problem is that we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. That's from a Buddha's teaching. Understanding is the heartwood of well-spoken words, also from a Buddhist teaching. Without communication, there is no relationship. Without respect, there is no love. Without trust, there's no reason to continue. That's also a Buddhist quote. And I like this one by Kahlil Gibran. Truth is a deep kindness that teaches us to be content in our everyday life and share with the people the same happiness. And finally, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. That's a quote from Steve Payton. So in summary, communication is way beyond speaking. It's involved many sensory factors. I think it's complicated. It's listening to understand with loving kindness and be truthful to yourself and other beings. It's connection, it's everything. So with that, I'd like to invite everybody to tell their stories, their thoughts, their feelings, whatever.
Did you read the simple part of the precept again?
The simple part?
Yeah, the first line.
In the realm of inexplicable.
No, before that, the actual precept itself.
Oh, do not speak dishonestly, communicate truthfully.
Okay.
I think we could probably spend a lot of time talking about communication. You know, there's a lot. I was like, wow, there's a lot to this. It's not that
So when
simple.
you were talking about dancing and singing, and it made me think that everything that we do is communication. Everything we do, even just sitting with somebody.
It is, yeah.
I hadn't looked at it like that before, so thank you for that.
Yeah, when I read that, I thought, that's really true.
And I like the part about listening. You know, because people often listen, you know, like I can be listening to you and thinking about what I'm going to say instead of really listening. You know, so I like that you mentioned that.
I think you called it listen to reply.
Yeah, listen to reply. That
But that's from Buddha. But also, like you said, it's like precepts are all connected. When I was reading up stuff, I went, oh, wow, that's kind of like, yeah, it is. They're all interrelated, which is really pretty cool.
yeah.
You know, I had a situation, it just was totally what you're talking about today. My daughter-in-law, back before the holidays, I really kind of just, as gentle as I could, communicate to her, please do not buy me anything. You know, at my age, I have everything I need. Please do not buy me anything. And she was really, I think probably sad. I said, you know, if it's consumable, if it's a massage, something, a movie ticket, something that it's not adding to the home, clutter, et cetera, is fine. But people just buy these gifts just to buy. And she was really bothered by it. But she did it. She bought me some vegan snacks and just bought me some goodies, and it was lovely. It was just so lovely. I got this package full of vegan snacks. Well, then I had my birthday. And I just received it. It took a while to get here, but I received a gift. And it was a coffee cup and one of those heaters for the bottom of the coffee cup. And when I opened it, I went, I probably donated 5 coffee cups last week. And I've got 3 of these heaters on desk and up in my bedroom. And it really kind of hit to what you were talking about, this intention of communicating. And when you're listening, what are you really listening? Or do you have this other, I know it was a message of, I know it's a message of love. When people give gifts, it's this message of love. And I know she was trying to, communicate that to me. And I had to, again, figure out what is a compassionate, gentle way to tell her, don't waste your money on this stuff, and I recognize, and I'm grateful, I recognize that this is a message of love. I know you want to give me a gift. And I just had to figure out a way that I could communicate to her in a way that I wasn't going to hurt her feelings and, offend her. Her first response to me was, well, that was an epic fail. And I just felt so bad, but I had to say, Lauren, we've had this conversation over and over and over. And I said, I just want you to, not to be spending money. You and Julian need this money. I don't need this stuff, but to try to communicate in a compassionate way, and then also with intent, and also so that she could hear it without trying to figure out how she was going to respond, or how, that feeling, her feelings being hurt. So it just was totally, this precept tonight just really hit home today, just with with that situation today.
Yeah, that's a really, really good example, because she obviously has a need or a desire to give you a gift. To even told her what kind of gift would work for you. Yeah, that's a good example. That's a tough one too, because it's somebody you're super close to.
And not to hurt people's feelings.
Yeah.
That's, my tendency would be not to say anything and give the cup to somebody else.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, is that honest? That's that. So it really is a dilemma.
It is. You'll probably get another cup.
Yeah, I know. And if you say, oh, I really like this.
Then you might get another one.
Yeah.
You can, it seems to me you can acknowledge the fact that she's showing you that she loves you. Yeah, I think that's the first thing to do, is to acknowledge that you recognize that this gift is given because you want to do something nice for me. And I truly appreciate that, not whether you keep the cup or give it away, or then I'm confused, but I do think we need to acknowledge the fact that the gift is given in love,
Right.
and if it's the wrong thing.
But how do you say,
Yeah, I
like,
don't know.
how do you say?
You start with that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You start with thank
Which I did.
Yeah. You start with showing.
Thank you.
Thank you
My
for loving.
husband, who I love, is a terrible person to give gifts to. You give him stuff, and he says stuff like, well, I don't want that. His sister gave him this T-shirt. He goes, what am I supposed to do with that? And I said, there is a time to just say thank you.
Yeah, but I've got a little pile up in my closet of all the gifts she's given me that when I pass away, she's going to open up a box of all the gifts she's given me.
Put her name on the box.
At some point, you have to stop. You have to do something.
That's a tough one.
That's
Mhm.
hard.
And it's tough too to know when, like you were talking about honest communication, and you always, I mean, to open your mouth and be honest
Mm-mm.
can really hurt people's feelings. So,
Or kill people. Like, do you have a Jew hidden in your house?
You have what?
Do you have a Jew hidden in the cellar?
oh, well, yeah, I mean,
And there's lots of times when it's appropriate to lie.
well, that would definitely be appropriate to lie, but another is more like just what Choan was talking about, or like people say, oh, I really like your hair. And then, then I get a cut and they, oh, I really like your hair. And I'm going, okay, which one?
Maybe both.
Maybe.
Possible.
They're saying, I like you.
Right.
You
I mean,
look
I
nice to me.
do not say, oh, you don't really. I say thank
I
you.
do. I'm like, what's wrong with it? What was wrong with it yesterday before I had it cut?
Or when I wore a dress one time and someone said, wow, you look really nice today.
That's an unusual slob, right?
It's 8:15. Yeah.
Joshi, no comment, any comments?
Pardon?
Did you have any comments?
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Well communicated.
Honestly, thank you.
That was two awesome talks.
It's good discussion.
Thank you.
Would you do our closing verse?
Abiding in this ephemeral world, like a lotus in muddy water, the mind is pure and goes beyond. Thus we bow to Buddha. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Maha Prajna Paramita. Good night, y'all.
As a
That's
group.
It was nice to be here.
Good night, everybody. This was wonderful.
Good night, Chad. Good night, Sean. Good night, Josh.
Good night.
Night.
Hard to understand all that from Zoom, like.